Everybody seems to be turning their back on the hardcore red pill movement. And at the time, I first decided to make a video on it, which was actually my first YouTube video at the start of this year, calling out the dangers and misguidance of it, as well as the creators and advocates for it themselves, was something uncommon. Most were still heavily being indoctrinated by it and promoting it, but now it's finally like the veil of the curtain has been pulled back, and a lot of the unhealthy advice, in particular to do with dealing with women and the pursuit of hedonism, and the fact that a lot of the guys advocating for it are just straight nerds who lack ever having genuine, real relationships with women and basically have suffered with attracting women most of their lives, has finally come to the forefront. The red pill, a term that comes from the 1999 film The Matrix, has become a framework for individuals to describe their awakening to some previously hidden supposed reality. In this context, from everything I have experienced and discovered consuming such content, would be something I describe as an awakening when men realize that women are the ones who actually hold all the cards and power in today's society when it comes to relationships and choosing a partner. But this is only the case if you're an average male, something I certainly agree on to an extent. It also focuses on heavily how a man can constantly level up his life and then essentially become a high value man, something again I do agree on. What I found appealing about the red pill is the fact that it prioritizes men becoming the best versions of themselves and is a more optimistic approach to life rather than the blue and black pill approaches, which are far more pessimistic. The red pill also strongly advocated that pursuing women should never be a man's number one focus. Much of the content also heavily promotes traditional values of the man leading and the woman following, which I firmly believe is the most efficient and natural relationship dynamic setup. This is something though I have always innately known and been raised to move like anyway. However, as I began to grow up, I realized around me how so many men would put women as their first priority, and more importantly, realized that when men got into relationships, they usually end up becoming the ones who submitted to the woman. You know, the whole, I need to ask my girl, or my girl doesn't like that, this type of, all that type of behavior. And it baffled me as to why this was the case. And upon finding the red pill community and the type of content which was the complete opposite of this and related more to what I believed in and was just articulated and put together in a digestible and understandable format, it really resonated with me. Therefore, it was something I was very attracted to and began to fully believe in and started applying the methods and teachings in my life. Again though, about 90% of them was something I was already accustomed to, so it was simple adjustments for me, not really a lifestyle change. Therefore, of course, such content resonated with me. Men should definitely focus on creating wealth as their number one priority, because for a long time I didn't, and it completely fucked me up, but that's a story for another day. They should prioritize health, and everything else comes secondary. This approach to life will serve you greatly for sure. However, the issue I have with it is the underlying hatred many of those in the space and advocates for the space have towards women, and it all stems from the fact that they have been burnt and grew up lacking the ability to attract females. So now, many of those who reach the top in the social media game and become advocates for it push unhealthy, unrealistic, and misguided narratives onto young, impressionable men who also face the same issues as they once did, essentially being invisible to women. What started out, for me at least, as solid advice in regards to relationship dynamics and men's self-improvement has morphed into something far more hedonistic and constantly promoting to the world that most women are hoes and the only value they can provide is sexual pleasure, which is absolute nonsense and just shows the lack of real-world experience and understanding of female nature these guys actually have. Being around beautiful feminine women who are funny, can hold a conversation, is an absolute vibe. The energy they have to offer is so calming and just positive all around. Like, bro, why the fuck do you want to be around guys 24/7 anyway? Sometimes it makes me think like a lot of these guys are actually closeted homosexuals, or like I said, are just genuinely so full of hate towards women because they were invisible to them for so long. Honestly, by just chilling around good women and interacting with them, you can actually learn a lot about female nature. Growing up, I was around this type of women a lot, plus the not so feminine type of women. So I learned so much about female nature this way, and it has served me greatly throughout my life. And what this advice of women only being good for sexual pleasure and otherwise they're a waste of time and space has essentially led to the absurdity and absolute double standards highlighted perfectly in this clip I'm about to show you.
The hypocritical part about it is that we make fun of girls all the time for not controlling their sexual urges and being hoes all the time. Like, she belongs to the streets, all this stuff. You tell guys that they're losers if they don't go to the gym. They're losers if they play video games. You're a loser if you smoke weed. You're a loser if you watch sports. You need to exercise discipline. But when it comes to girls, oh shit, get a vasectomy because you can't control yourself, because you're not capable of exercising discipline. Why you have to be disciplined in every single aspect of life, networking, success, all this stuff, watching sports, playing video games. You need to be on your stuff. But for women, nut inside girls after getting a transgender surgery, that's the one thing you can't be disciplined in.
If you go back to the first ever video I recorded on YouTube, I specifically spoke about people in the red pill space, like Fresh and Fit, who are dangerously misguiding young men into a life of hedonism and playboy life that can leave many feeling unfulfilled and the potential of leaving a path of destruction behind you if you follow this path religiously. Many of these guys in the red pill space are also essentially making it seem like women can only be good for sexual pleasure and then serving you. Again, this is extremely unrealistic. Let me give you an example. Women open doors. Women are one of the most powerful tools when it comes to networking and getting certain things done. But of course, because a lot of these guys are actually nerds, they can't genuinely attract women or even just get along with them, and they feel so butthurt if she doesn't want to have sex with them immediately, due to all of their PTSD of being rejected and invisible to them for so many years. So they don't even realize this and are basically guiding other men into looking at women as nothing more than meat. Which leads me on to my next point, that they are preaching and guiding young men to essentially fuck and use women whenever they please, which is actually a weak and dangerous path for a man to take. Sexual discipline is something of extreme rarity in men who are able to get women but choose to only sleep with those worthy. Not just anything they deem attractive on the outside or has a feature they like, which is essentially what the red pill preaches. They mention absolutely zero about sexual discipline. They are essentially creating men who are gonna have like no control over their lust, which can seriously fuck up your life, man. Like, it's terrible advice, honestly. I also spoke on the dangers they present by overrepresenting a certain demographic of women, which essentially can make many young men almost feel hopeless, like, damn, there's no good, proper, wholesome women out there. For example, there are only 2.1 million content creators on OnlyFans. Meanwhile, there are 3.9 billion women on the planet. Therefore, not even 1% of women are on OnlyFans. However, if you constantly consume content like Fresh and Fit or other red pill and modern dating shows like Whatever, etc., you'd think every other woman is doing OnlyFans, which clearly is extremely far from reality. All in all, I'm glad those who were heavily involved in the space, who have large platforms and influence, some who never claimed to be red pill themselves, and others that did, are actually finally waking up and smelling the coffee and calling it out for what it is. Yes, it definitely has a lot of truth to it and can serve many men and pushes back against modern feminism. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody should be religiously following any of these pill paths. They are all merely philosophies and ideologies. And because life is subjective, perspective matters, and circumstances change, one should always take this into consideration when navigating life. The number one way every young man that I believe should be looking to move is by gaining knowledge, gaining real-world experience, aiming to improve constantly, and moving through life with an open mind. By adopting such an approach, there is no room to become bitter or to become stubborn and misled. Instead, you discover who you truly are. And in doing so, you will also discover that the world is not black and white, and there's a lot of beauty and wholesomeness still out there in this world. Anyway, that's all from me for now. But before I go, I'm curious to know what you guys think too. So let me know in the comments below. And as usual, I hope this video serves you. Love.